Alright, this video is going to be part 2 to my other video I had made when it said near-death experiences. This one here, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of some of those situations that I didn't go into full detail of. I mean, I just wanted to paint a better picture of the situation. Alright, let's see here. Okay. The one where I wrecked into the steps and I said I got away. Okay. That one, when I hit the steps and I bounced up, and what had happened was when I hit the steps, popped up, man, I'm really surprised how that turned out. But now this is, I'd have to say grace and mercy, because when that happened, okay, I remember my one buddy, he was trying to climb over me to get out the door. Like, no, get out your own door kind of thing, watch out, I got out the door. I hear the sirens. They're getting closer from the police officer that the guy went and stopped next to tell what had happened. And now here they come. Hang on a second. All right, sorry, I had to close the door to my bedroom because my wife's in there laying there asleep. I don't want to wake her up. I get a little moved sometimes when I'm speaking, so I don't want to wake her up and bother her and whatnot. But anyways, I heard the sirens coming. I take off running. Somehow or another, the two buddies that was with me, they got out. They're running. Well, the house that I hit the steps of, I ended up running behind the house where I just hit the steps of. I jump over the fence to that same house. I happen to look over after I jump over the fence. I see my buddies. They're running, taking off. I jumped over the fence. I jumped over the next fence going into the neighboring yard to the house I just wrecked. I was taking my shirt off. I remember this pretty vividly. Took my shirt off. They're standing on the back porch smoking weed. There's probably 5-6 people standing out there. I had to come, I don't know if, I'm sure they heard the wreck that happened out front. But I jumped over their fence, and I'm coming over to their house now. And they're all standing on the back porch. I come walking up to them. I'm walking up their steps as they're standing on the back porch. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, yeah, you're right. Whatever, you're lying. No, I'm serious. And if the guy is watching this, he'll probably come in and, no, he's serious. They're standing on the back porch smoking weed. I come walking up the steps. And I walk up to them. I said, hey, is it all right if I come in? And I'm forcing my way through the door, mind you. Okay. As they're standing there, I'm walking right past them, walking into their house. Into their house, mind you. I walk into their house, and they're all smoking weed. They're all about my age. I walk into their house, and they're like, what's going on? This and that, and I kind of told them what had happened. I hit their neighbor's house next door on their, their steps or whatever. And it was like, evidently they must have not liked him. They was like, oh, okay, come on, upstairs. I'm like, okay. I go upstairs, I follow one of the guys up, a couple of them actually. I walk up the steps behind them, going to the second floor of their house. And they's like, come over here. And they pull this panel off the side of the wall. Man, it was like a hidden wall. the way this thing was set up, like they had this, like it was like something you would see in a movie. It was like a hidden panel. They pull this thing off the wall. It's like getting there. I was like, okay. And I was, smoking weed at the time, so, and I get inside there, and there's like this little small chair and this like bed like area and this little tiny window. And he's like, just get in there, man. You'll be all right. He's like, here, man, you want to smoke the rest of this? It gave me the half of the joint they was smoking on when I came up to the porch. They gave it to me. Now I'm sitting there. They closed me in. They put that back. You can't even, honestly, you could not tell that was a false wall by looking at when you come up to it. Because when he pulled it away, I was rather like, what? Wow, okay, cool. But I'm in there. I'm sitting in a room. I'm smoking the joint. And I'm looking out that little window they had there. And I'm watching. Here's all these cops start coming up. They're looking at the car. And now in that car, we had stolen radios and speakers. We had a bunch of stolen stuff we had stolen out of the cars. I'm just being real with you. They're pulling all this stuff out, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking, I'm trying to be all slick, I'm hiding back in that corner, just barely peeking out the window just so I could see what was going on. And this is literally right next door to the house I just did this at, and they're right out front. And I'm watching. Now, as I'm sitting there watching, I see my buddies, both of them that I was with me, come walking up in handcuffs. Like, they pull them out of this police car and put them in another, into a paddy wagon. That's a van, a police van, for those who don't know. Put them in this other van, or put them into the van. And they're in there, and I can see the side door open, and they're talking to them. I can see them both in handcuffs. So they're caught. And as they're sitting there talking, I don't know how much time's going by, but I'm watching, and next thing you know, within a short time frame, they pull up this guy. I had like a black shirt on, black shorts, some kind of shoes. I don't remember, the black or white, whatever. And of course, got glasses. I had short hair like this, and they pull this guy up. They get him out of the vehicle of one of the police cruisers. And this dude looks just like me. I mean, to the freaking T. I cannot believe how closely this dude looks like me. Almost the same shirt, same shorts, same shoes, same hairstyle, glasses. This dude looked just like me. I'm like, you probably couldn't pass. You'd have been confused looking at a lineup whether or not this guy was me or not. That's how closely this dude looked like me. I'm looking out the window like, what the? This dude's in handcuffs. I guess evidently, from what I'm gathering, from what I'm seeing, they walked him up to my buddies and were like, hey, is this the guy who was driving the vehicle? Evidently, during this conversation, somehow they said, no, this is not him. So they took the handcuffs off the guy, and the dude walked away. Yeah. I thought this dude was going to jail for me, from what I was seeing. And I'm still like, watching, and things ended up happening where everybody just ended up leaving. The car got towed away and all whatnot. I'm still in this house at the time. I ended up calling a buddy, and, a while later, and it was like, hey, man, can you come get me or whatever? Well, he ended up coming get me. I'm ducked down, as we get close to my house, because I said, hey, man, drive by my house. I want to see what's going on, I want to see, I want to take a look. So we went by my house where I was living at the time, and I looked up the street, and I could see a whole bunch of cop cars outside of my house. I was like peeking up over the window of the car. I'm like trying to duck down into the floorboard of the passenger side of the car. And I happened to look up and I seen it. And I was like, wow, man. And they told on me, you know. But nonetheless, nothing ever came about for that particular thing. Never got charged, never got anything whatsoever happened to that. Nothing. I was able to have gotten away with that. Grace of God. And the only reason I'm saying this now is because the statute of limitations is way up. You're talking like 30 years ago. It's so long ago, I'm not worried about it. Okay. And okay, with the wreck with my sister in it. Okay. Well, when I said that, I pulled her out of the car, carried her up to the top of the hill. I get her up to the top of the hill. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I believe by faith that's about what time it was. People must have heard the wreck after I got in the wreck. They heard it, you know, the squealing of the tires and the crashing into the tree. I get her up to the top of the hill. Now, when I get her up to the top of the hill, there's a group of people, probably. I'm just going to throw a number out there. I don't know. I'm just like a dozen people. Okay. Up at the top of the hill. I get her out, carry her up there. They don't know that I was the one driving at the time. They think she was driving. I just happened to be somebody who saved her, came down and grabbed her or whatever. I'm assuming. I don't know what they was thinking at the time. But I knew once I got my sister up there, there's nothing else I could do. I couldn't medically save her. I couldn't do anything for her medically to help keep her alive, kind of thing. You know, that this is my thought pattern. So I'm like, okay. I was like, all right, we need to call an ambulance. They're like, okay, they're already on their way. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, I gotta go get my mom and let her know what's going on. And I lied, flat out lied. I wanted to get away. I knew the ambulance was on their way. There was nothing I could do for my sister. So medically, I couldn't do anything for her. So I just would have been just going to jail for a stolen car, possible chance of whatever they could have charged me with her almost dying in that car wreck. So I was like, I'm going to go get my mom. I got to let her know what's going on. They're like, okay. So that's why I was under the impression they assumed that she was the one driving and I just saved her by pulling her out. They didn't know I was driving. So I take off running to go, like I was going to go say something to my mom. I took off. I'm like, okay. I could hear sirens in the distance, way off in the distance. I run over to a gas station that's like probably just 3 or 4 blocks, roughly, from where the accident happened. There was a guy that was standing at, like I say, how late it was. The guy standing at a gas pump, pumping gas. And I come running over to him, you know, and I was like, hey, man, can you give me a ride up the road? And he's real slow and meek and laid back. So he's like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. But now I'm seeing cop cars, ambulance. I mean, it was like cop cars flying over there to go see what it was. You know, where I just had that accident. And I'm like, I'm not trying to let this guy know what was going on. So I'm like, I'm freaking out now, you know, like, can you hurry up? You know, kind of thing. Can you give me a ride? And he's like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. You can just go ahead and get in the car. Because he evidently ain't pumped yet or paid for the gas, or he had to go in for something. I don't know. I know he wasn't done yet. He said, you can go ahead and get in the car. But he was saying it real slow. And I'm jerking on the passenger side door trying to get in. And he said, oh, well, I hate to say it, but that door can't open. You have to go around to the driver's side. I'm freaking out. I'm trying to yank on this door trying to get in the dang thing. I hear more cop car. I'm like, oh, man. So I go around and I get into the driver's side. I climb over to the passenger seat. Man, there's mountains of trash in this car. I mean, like massive mounds of trash. I'm like, I don't even care though. I just want a ride to get out of there. I climb over and I get in there. Man, he's in there. It seemed like forever, man. Like 30, 40 minutes, it seemed like. But he's probably on there like 3 or 4 minutes. But it seemed like it was forever. I'm in there. I'm like, I'm hearing all these sirens still. I'm like, oh, man, what's going on? I'm like, man, is she dead? Is she alive? What's going on, you know? Well, he eventually comes out of the gas station, gets in the car, the driver's seat. He drives me up the road. I just said, hey, man, I just need to go up the road so far or whatever. I gave him a certain destination. He ended up taking me up the road to a certain spot. I said, well, this would be fine. Right here. You can let me out here. It's probably like 5 miles or whatever. And I get out. I go over to Green Lawn Cemetery. I go through there. It's late at night. I'm running through there trying to hurry up and get to South Park where my buddy was staying at, one of my buddies. I go over there it's late, you know, he's asleep, whatever, but go into South Park, go up to his door, and I'm banging on, boom, 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 boom. And he answers the door. You know, actually, no, one of my other buddies first, I went to his house first in that apartment complex, went to his house first, banged on a door. His girlfriend, wife, whatever, come to the door. And I explained to him what had happened. He's like, oh, you'll be all right. You know, I woke him up. So evidently he wasn't, you know, trying to deal with me at that point. And he was like, man, you'll be all right, man. Just go sleep it off or whatever. I'm like, man, you didn't see what I saw. You don't know what I just went through, man. You're blowing this off, man. You know, this kind of thing. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do now? So that's when I went to my other buddy's house at the other end of the building. Went to his apartment. He's living on the 3rd floor. My one buddy I just came from was living on the 2nd floor. I went to the 3rd floor, knocked on his door. He answered the door. And I explained to him what had just happened. I was like, man, I think I just killed my sister. You know, I said the same thing to my other buddy. I think I just killed my sister. I said, man, she was covered in blood and all this. I mean, I got in a wreck and blah, blah, blah. And told him the whole thing. And he was like, oh, man, you know, I hate to hear that, you know, and he allowed me to come in and I stayed. Well, that car was that 3000 boost, 93, 3000 boost, and the year 93 of the car, 3000 boost GT, okay? Stole this out of a garage in a really nice neighborhood. Had this thing for weeks. For a long while. Drove this thing around like it was mine. And got in that wreck with it. Okay, after this situation, I told my sister when, you know, prior to her getting into the accident, that if she would ever get questioned by a cop when it had come to do with me, be honest, be truthful, just tell them whatever it is. I said, I don't want you to get in trouble for me. I said, so, you know this. If you happen to get questions, be truthful. I don't want to see you get in trouble for me. So, obviously, since she wasn't driving, she had to tell the police what had happened. So, I remember the next morning after that happened, I called my mom. Of course, trying to give her the bad news. I had to tell her something. I called my mom. Hey, Mom, I just, I'm like, we'll let you know about Tosh. She says, oh, I already know about Tosh. I'm like, what? How do you know about Tosh? And she was like, yeah, Tosh called me from the hospital and, I'm already under the pressure. She's dead. that's what I felt. I'm like, she died. There's no way she could have survived that. When you seen what I saw, you would have thought the same thing. But she's like, oh yeah, she called me from the hospital, asked me if I'd come pick her up. So I went and picked her up and whatnot. And I'm like, what? She's alive? Yeah, like, okay, cool. Uh, so I mean, I didn't know exactly what she had said or whatever. I didn't find any of that out. But I ended up getting caught for something else. I guess I ended up having a warrant for my arrest because of that. Hang on a second. All right. So I ended up having a warrant for my arrest. I think that's where I was at. Sorry. Yeah, so I went to jail. Come to find out, that situation with my sister, I ended up, once she told the police what had happened, what I was charged with, driving with no license, hit and skip, doing 100 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and hit and skip, driving with no license, expired tags, and no insurance. I don't think it was no insurance, but expired tags. Hit and skip, drive with no license, and doing 125. I want to say there was 5, but nonetheless, none of them was for a stolen car. How are you going to tell me that as nice car as that was, and expensive as it was, I'm sure it was not a cheap car, especially at that time. I wasn't charged with anything stolen. I was charged with things that you would get charged with if you was driving a legal car that you owned. Expired tags? How are you going to charge me with expired tags on a stolen car? Really? So I'm laughing because the situation was, I could have been dead. My sister could have been dead. I could have been charged with more serious crime than what I was. It was all tickets. All misdemeanors. That was, to me, crazy. I can't say that was all God. That could have been really worse off than what it was. Because I drove that thing around for, I want to say, close to 3 weeks. This vehicle was sitting in the garage, and this was the only thing in the garage. I got the key, the garage door opener from a truck that was sitting outside of the garage in a nice neighborhood. I'm talking a nice neighborhood. And I hit the garage door opener, and me and my buddy, when the garage door opened, we ran, came back a short while later, and this was the only thing sitting in the garage, was this car with the keys in it. Now, this person could have been on vacation. I don't know. Maybe it was, I have no idea. I mean, I could speculate all I want, but how are you going to tell me that I drove this thing around for almost 3 weeks and that car was never reported stolen? Even afterward, you mean to tell me that these people didn't realize their car had been stolen and that it got wrecked? No. Something to that. God. That's what that is. That's what got to that is God. How else could that have turned out that way? All right. Now, I'm going to, let's see here. All right. Now, this is going to be one of the other ones I didn't really speak on before because I said I couldn't really know for sure how this would have turned out one way or the other. I was in prison at the time. Okay, when this situation arose. Okay, I was getting ready to get out within a short time frame of this incident. I wanted to get tattoos. That's, these ones here, these ones on my wrist, and of course you can't really. You can. I can't even do it here. It says time lost. So I got that. I wanted to get those. Well, this wasn't my ideal at the time. I wanted to get tattoos, but I didn't have any idea what I wanted. But I wanted to get some tattoos. I didn't have the money to be able to afford to pay for it to get prison tats. Okay. So I was talking to a guy I was acquainted with in there that I happened to meet up with and started, getting to know. He's like, I talked to him. I was like, man, I want to get some tattoos. He's like, man, you get me a Walkman, I will give you 5 packs of cigarettes. And 5 packs of cigarettes in jail for a tattoo artist get you a long ways. I was like, all right, that sounds good. I'll do that. Of course, I was a thief. I was a thief. That's the only thing I knew, at the time. So I went walking around, and this time it was in Noble prison in Ohio. Noble. It was a dormitory. I had like 250 guys. Okay, it was like 125 on one side, 125 on the other side. Okay, and I went walking around the whole dorm. I'm walking around up aisle towards each, everybody's bunk. I mean, there was like, what, let's see if there's 125 on there, whatever. There was like 3 rows on this side, 3 rows on this side, whatever them numbers come up to be. I'm walking around, I can't find nobody. And of course, I knew there were certain individuals you just don't mess with. Even if you really want to do something, there's just certain individuals you just don't mess with. I knew not to mess with those people. So I'm walking around and I can't find nothing. I said, man, I can't find anybody. I can't find any Walkman, that I can get it from. And he's like, man, there's a guy at the end of my row, man. He's new to our dorm. And, he goes to sleep every night listening to his Walkman. He says, you could probably sneak up on him. And I said, he was like, he snores, he's a heavy sleeper and all this. And I'm like, okay. And where his bunk was like right near the CO's desk. It's the correctional officer's desk where they sit at while they, sit up there. Then they eventually go around, do their monitoring from time to time to go check the inmates out. It was late, probably 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I decided that night was going to be the night. Everybody, I'm surprised, but everybody was asleep on my side that I knew of. That everybody was asleep. Ironically, besides my buddy, I walked by him and he's like, yeah, you're good. He's supposed to be watching out for me from his bed, which if you're up out of your bed, unless you're going to the bathroom, you're out of place. So you can't just get up and go over to your buddies and hang out. No, you had to be on your rack when it was lockdown. When it was time for bed, you couldn't be up moving around. So I was like on my way to the bathroom. That's what I was acting like. I walked over to the guy and I looked over at the CO's desk. He's sitting over there reading a newspaper or something. He's got his feet up on the desk and he's just sitting there reading a newspaper. I happen to look. I can see he ain't paying attention. So I sat next to this guy. Now, mind you, this guy that he told me that was new to this dorm was a big black guy. There was huge, like, big. I'm not talking muscle bound. He's just big, like huge. Like, man, this dude probably had to be close to 500 pounds. This dude was huge. He was so big that he had His nickname was Big Killa, Killa, Big Killa. He had it tattooed on his back in big bold letters, and it went across his whole back. So picture that in big bold letters, being able to how wide this dude was. Like he wobbled when he walked. He had to use the elevator because we was on the second floor in the dorm, and he had to use the elevator. He couldn't walk up and down the steps. He had to use the elevator to go in and out, to come in and out. That's how big he was. He was freaking huge. Well, he's laying there, and I really didn't pay much mind to him, because I hadn't really seen too much of him, and just whatever. He was laying there asleep. I remember he was snoring away, and I'm sitting on the bunk next to him because it was empty. The rack next to him was empty. I was sitting on that rack, and I'm looking at him as he's sleeping. He's listening to his Walkman. He's got the headphones on, and he's got his Walkman plugged in. I could hear the music playing. I'm like, all right. I just said, all right, cool. I walk over. I disconnect his headphones while he's listening to him. Disconnect his headphones. I grab his adapter piece that's connected to his headphones or his Walkman, and I walk away. He's still got his headphones on. And I'm walking away with his Walkman and his adapter. I go over to my buddy, and I start to hand it to him. He's like, no, hold on to that until tomorrow. Hold on to that until tomorrow. He's whispering it to me, and I'm like, dude, that's not what you said. You said you was going to buy it now. I mean, dude, here, take it. No, hold on until tomorrow. Hold on until tomorrow. And I'm like, whatever. So I take it over. I put it on my pillow. I get on my rack. I'm laying on my rack. Hang on a second. All right. So I put the Walkman under my pillow. Now, I had a top bunk. Okay. Now, I climbed up on my bunk. Now, the walls they had in there separating the rows from one another was like probably maybe 5 feet high or something. So whenever a CO come walking around, correctional officer come walking around, he could see over the whole dorm. My bunk was right there at the top of the wall. All top bunks was right there at the top of the wall. Well, I ended up having the top bunk. Well, I'm laying on my rack, waiting for, morning count, whenever morning count was, and, I think it was like supposed to be around 5 o'clock or whatever. Light's supposed to come on and whatnot. I'm laying on my rack. Then, morning count, shift change. So this is when the next shift comes in. They come in. I'm laying there. Lights come on. It's how it's every morning. This is how the routine was. Lights come on. They do the morning count. Now they would do the morning count with lights out on the shift prior, but this time they do morning count. They have the lights on. It's like wake up. It's morning time kind of thing. So the lights kick on. So I'm laying there on my rack, and I can see across everything. As I'm laying there, the CO's going around doing their count. I'm laying there. I see Big Killa. He stands up. He stands up. I can see him. He's like got this mean mug look on his face. He's got his headphones still on. He's looking around like looking around. And I'm like, I'm over there playing like I'm asleep. Looking at the corner of my eye, like with my eyes just barely slid open, looking, watching him, see what he's going to do. And nothing, and I'm like, okay. After the count's cleared, that's after they make sure everybody's there in their spot they're supposed to be. Count's cleared. They say, count's clear. Now you can move around. You can go brush your teeth, do your thing, whatever. You can go moving about in your dorm. You're okay. If you want to go over and see your buddy on the other side, you could. Count's clear. So now people are moving around. Okay, within probably 20 minutes or so, now is it chow time? So now they're calling for chow. Okay, now at this time, that early in the morning, you can go to chow, but the yard is still not open for any other movement. You have to go to chow only, and that's it. You can't like go walking around hanging out in the yard kind of thing. You have to go to chow, and that's it. So now we're on our way to chow. I'm talking to my buddy, the one I was trying to give the one that was supposed to buy the Walkman. I was like, "Hey man, what the heck's going on, man? You said you was gonna buy this, man. What's going on?" He's like, "Man, I just want to wait. I ain't got it yet. Whatever." He gave me some kind of line of bull crap, and I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Man, like you said you was gonna buy it. I wouldn't have done it yet if you didn't have it to buy it yet." He's like, "Just hold on to it, man. I will buy it." I'm like, "Okay, okay, okay." So I come back from chow. We come back from chow. Come around the corner to go to my bunk. There's like, I'm telling you, like 50 people around this dude's bunk. Big Killer's bunk. I'm telling you, I mean, like 50 people. I mean, there was a massive amount of people around this dude's bunk. Whole bunch of black guys. Now I'm like, what's that about? Like I got my understanding, about it, but I didn't know to the full extent. Come around the corner, and because my buddy told me, he says he didn't know nobody. He was new to the dorm. That was the exact word. Oh, he's new here. He don't know nobody. That's what he told me. So that's how he was able to sell me on this to go take his dude's Walkman. So we came back from chow, and I seen that. I'm like, what the? I came over to my dude after, I'm like, I went over to him. I said, "Dude, I thought you said he didn't know nobody." He was like, "Nah, he came from downstairs. He went. I can't remember what bullcrap lie he fed me, but he's like, he came from downstairs. He's new to this dorm, but he's not new to the prison. He's been there at that prison all this time." I'm like, I never saw him, so I thought he was being truthful. Like the dude was new to the whole camp, kind of thing. But I'm like, man, he's got all these people around him. He's like, oh man, like I didn't think he knew anybody. Like I'm like, oh man, now what? So all these people are hanging out this dude around Big Killer. And so yard ain't open yet, nothing. They're still coming back from chow, slowly trickling in. I have, there's a ruckus now because people are getting loud and whatever, around Big Killer. COs now wanting to know what's going on. What's happening? So the COs come over. What's going on? What's the problem? And I happen to hear somebody say, "They took my buddy's Walkman." They said some other words, but took my dude's Walkman. So now the COs, there was two of them. I only want to say one. There was one at that time that I seen, but the other one might have been doing something else. But there was supposed to be two. The one started doing a dorm search. Now because it's supposed to be a stolen Walkman. He's going bunk to bunk to bunk to bunk, checking everything. Everything, to each individual. So doing the whole rows. Now, yard still ain't even open. People still coming back from chow. And now I'm noticing there's just like 15, 20 people walking with this CO waiting to find out who got their buddy's Walkman. They're like 5 bunks down from me at this point. And there's a group of guys waiting just as soon as they find out that you could tell by the aggressiveness of these people, they're getting ready to mess somebody up as soon as they find out who it is. Somehow, some way or another, since I'm on the top rack, I'm able to grab this Walkman, stuff it down my pants with my bunkie there and my neighboring bunkie that's, that's right next on all sides. No one sees me do this. Somehow, somewhere or another, they don't see me do it. I stuff it down my pants. I'm at this point now where I see the situation arising that all they got to do is make it to me, and I'm done. It's all bad for me. So I decide, you know what? I don't care. I'm going out into the yard. I'm going out. So the door was still open because people were still slowly trickling back from the chow hall. I go out into the yard. Now, mind you, it's if you're not coming back from chow or going to chow and the yard is not open and you're out on that yard, you're out of place. That's a straight hole shot. You're going straight to the hole. That's solitary confinement for a number of days, whatever they decide they want to give you. Could be a possible escape charge. So I walk out on the yard. I don't see nobody. No inmates, no COs, nothing. I'm the only person out there. And mind you, now this is prison. They got cameras everywhere. I walk out in the yard. I don't see nobody. I'm the only person out there. Literally. I'm walking. Like, man, I can't even blend in with nobody. So I'm like, I don't even care. I'd rather take a chance of going to the hole than dealing with what I was getting ready to deal with if they would have caught me with that. So I walk over to a trash can. I dash that Walkman. I stash it down inside the trash. Now, I didn't care if I was on camera or not. I just wasn't trying to get caught by them guys having it on me. So I go back to the dorm. Gates closed. I can't get in. What am I supposed to do now? I'm standing outside the gate. The CO comes walking over to go to his desk. He happens to look over. I was like, hey. He was like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I'm coming back from chow. He says, no. His yard was cleared. There was no inmates in movement. What are you doing? I said, I'm coming back from chow. And he was like, no, I'm telling you, yard was yard was cleared. There was nobody in movement. Where are you coming from? I said, dude, I'm telling you what, I came back from chow. I said that somebody must have messed up. I said, I don't know. I'm coming back from chow, dude. And he was like, gave me this funky look, but he unlocked the gate, let me in. He was like, all right, get back to your bunk. I was like, all right, sorry, man. I go back to my bunk. I'm good to go. I'm like, okay. So I'm laying there. I'm like, all right. I'll wait for the yard to open. I decide I want to go out there because I know I done stashed the Walkman out there. So either I got to let it go or I got to try to figure out what I'm going to do with it. So I go to my buddy next door in the next dorm over. Well, I ended up going to school with this guy. So he knew me and I knew him per se. So he worked in the kitchen. And because he worked in the kitchen, he had a different set of clothing, collar clothing. He had tan clothing. I had blue. Well, I ended up sending somebody that worked in the kitchen dorm inside to go get him. Buddy named Jason. They found him. He came out. I was like, hey, man, I got this Walkman. I just need you to hold on to this until I can get rid of it. Okay. I was like, don't get rid of it. Don't do anything with it. Just hold on to it. I said, you can listen to it, but just don't let anybody know you got it. Just hold on to it. He's like, oh, okay, I got you. So he's holding on to it. I'm good to go now. I'm good. I can go back to my bunk, go to sleep. I ain't gonna lose it, because trash got cleaned out, whatever. It's a whole nother dorm. No way it's gonna get tied back to me. So I go back. I'm finally can go to sleep now because I've been up all night plotting on this. I'm tired. I go to sleep. I don't know how long it was I was asleep for. A couple hours, something. I'm just throwing a number out there. All of a sudden, there's people shaking me awake. Just, I feel my legs shaking, like, get up, get up. And I'm like, I come up out of my sleep. I'm like, what? I look around. There's like 15, 20 people around my bunk. And I'm like, what's going on? And it was like, get up, get up. A bunch of black guys. I get up. I'm like, all right. So I get up. Not that I can do anything. I get up and I'm standing there all looking at them. And they was like, you stole my buddy's Walkman. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I didn't steal no Walkman. They're like, get dressed, man. Get dressed now. I'm like, all right. So I'm putting my blues on, prison clothes, put them on. These guys are following around me. I'm in the middle of these guys. I cannot go left, right, forward, backwards. These guys have got me completely encircled. Well, hang on. All right, these guys got me completely encircled. We got on the yard because it's open now. Go out on the yard. We're walking down the steps. As soon as we come down the steps and they're still gathered around me, here's Big Killa standing out there, smoking a black and mild. And he's got a whole bunch more, probably 40, 50 guys around him. I'm like, what? Them guys that was walking around me looked at Big Killa. Big Killa gave him like a nod or something. And he was like, prior to coming out there, he's like, the guy next door said, you stole my buddy's Walkman. So now we got to go confront the guy that I gave the Walkman to. Now, mind you, if you're in another dorm that you don't stay in, that's out of place. That's a straight hole shot. Make no difference. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no questions about it. You can't pass go and collect $200. You're going straight to the hole. Flat out. Solitary confinement for a number of days. We're all wearing blue. This dorm where I gave the Walkman to my buddy, all wearing tan. Completely opposite color. There's no way you could tell that we're not out of place. They encircled me as we went into this dorm to go find my buddy Jason. Now, we're walking around this dorm completely out of place. I don't even see how in the hell we didn't get caught at this point. Walking around, we can't find him. We're walking around the whole dorm, can't find him. I'm thinking, thank God, I'm good. All of a sudden, oh, here he is. Here he is. He's right here. I'm like, oh, now what? Well, he walks over to me. I happen to be basically forced to walk over toward his direction because I had no way I can get away from these people. No, it's not happening. So they kind of encircle me over towards Jason. So now he's standing there. I'm standing there. We're within spitting distance of one another. And this dude, my buddy Jason, was like, yeah, this is him. I was like, this is he who what? What are you talking about? And he was like, man, don't play games, man. You know you stole that dude's Walkman, man. You gave it to me to hold on to it. I said, man, I don't know what the heck you talking about, dude. I didn't steal nobody's Walkman, man. You probably stole it. Really? How's he going to steal it in the middle of the night in another dorm when he's locked down? But I'm playing it off. I'm straight out saying I didn't do it. He's saying he didn't do it. So the guys that was encircled me, one of the guys said, well, whoever thinks the other one did it, swing on him. We both looked at each other at the same time. We swing at the same time. So we're sitting here squabbling for a minute. We're fighting. And no major blows are taken or given or any of that. It just, real gentle type thing was surprisingly, though it should have been more aggressive than that, but nothing, significant between us. And then all of a sudden I hear someone say, CO, 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 correctional officer. Like they're wanting to see what the ruckus is going on because I'm like, oh yeah, get him, and all this. So now the COs are trying to come over. Somehow, some way or another, we was able to be done fighting and kind of walked out right back out the door that we came in. All the people still circling around me, so I couldn't still, say anything. And these guys are encircling me as we get out. And they're walking me towards Big Killa. It's got all these other guys around him. Constantly pushing right toward him. They get here's Big Killa in the center. There's big open spot. Big Killa standing in the center. Now they've got me pushed that way. Now the guy that said to swing on the other guy, he's now in the center with me and Big Killa. And Big Killa's looking at him. And this dude's like, well, we don't know who did it. He said he did it, and the other guy said he did it. He says, I said whoever thinks the other one did it, swing on them. They both swing at the same time. I don't know who did it. And Big Killa's sitting there smoking his Black Mound. I looked at him. I said, what's it going to cost me to get all your dogs off me right now? He was like, I remember. He was like, he hit his Black Mound. He looked at me and he's a brick of miles. That's 10 packs of Black Mounds. I said, done. I walked away through the midst of all them people and went back. Looked straight at my buddy. I was like, dude, you owe me 10 packs of Black Mounds for that one. I was surprised that I didn't get mauled because all it would have taken. Turns out this dude, that's it, Big Killa, was the leader of the Crips. Yeah, he was the leader of the Crips. That's why he had all those people. He was a gangbanger. He was the leader of the gang in that camp. He was a shot caller. I didn't know that. I don't still know to this day if my so-called buddy knew who he was when he told me I could take that dude's Walkman. Oh, he don't know nobody. He could have known and thought it was an inside joke to him and anybody else who had known about it. That was a very close call because I'm telling you, if you guys know anything about prison, things could turn out very ugly, very quick for a lot of people. Over some of the, it don't matter if it's a pencil, piece of paper, you could lose your life over something so petty as that in prison. Not all prisons, some of them more in an honor camp kind of thing, you know what I mean, where they're laid back because they ain't facing, or they ain't got much time left, or because they've worked their status down so low that they're in that type camp, so they're not willing to risk, most generally speaking, their lower status to where they have more freedom to move about and do things and have certain things that the others in a more super max or max prison don't have options to. So I want to say that, to me, that'd have to be the grace of God that I did not get mauled to death. I can tell you that was a very close call. There was 3 rules I followed as being a thief. 1, you never steal from family. 2, you never steal from friends. And 3, this one I came up with after that situation. Never steal anything when you get locked up. That was my go-to thing at that time. That's what I believed. And there was only the first 2 that I ever followed prior to that situation. never stole from family, never stole from friends. But after that, never steal anything when you get locked up. Yeah, that was a very close. You have no idea how close it was, because all he would have had to do was just get him. That's all he would have had to say, and I would have been mauled right there. Because all those people was following him. You might think I'm lying when I'm saying these numbers, but you have no idea. You didn't see what I saw. I'm telling you, that dude could have just snapped his finger and just said a word, and I would have been done right there. And the belief of what you know gangs as, all you got to do is research it. Watch YouTube videos. Watch anything on the internet that's got to do with gangbanging. And I'm telling you what, you would be a dead individual if a shot caller gave the word out to do it. You'd be screwed. I could have been. It could have been really bad. But because I agreed to pay that, I just, what's it going to cost me to call all your dogs off me? I really said that. You guys might, he's just making it up. No, I really said that. Exactly as that. What's it going to cost me to call all your dogs off me right now? I'm telling you, he's like, he hit that black amount. A brick of miles. I was like, done. I literally walked away. It was like parting of the Red Sea. I walked right between everybody. Nobody bothered me. Not ever again after that. He got his payment. Nobody bothered me. That's grace of God. I'm telling you, if that ain't, I don't know what is. I mean, that, of course, other than near-death experiences. But you tell me you go to jail and you do that, and you don't receive some kind of beating or near-death experience on something like that. Oh man, I could have been done. Really could have been. I thank God, because it could have been bad. It could have been a whole lot worse than what it was. Just that little brief little scuffle between me and the dude that wasn't like part of Big Killer's crew. That was small, because I didn't get hurt. He didn't get hurt. So, all right. I will leave that on this note. I just wanted to go into more detail of the first two things I spoke about, and the one that I didn't. One of the ones I didn't speak about that I wanted to, but the video was already too long, which now this one here is going on almost an hour. So now you get a better understanding after watching these videos up until now, that you know what I mean? That I'm not no different than you or anybody else. I do make mistakes. I have made mistakes. And I have a past. So if any of you looking at me and saying, well, he thinks he's righteous, no, I don't. Actually, I think I'm below you. Just because I've, had the years of reading during this time, which I was a foolish, disobedient believer. For the 40 years, it's not 40 years of consistently walking by faith. That's 40 years of believing in God, reading his word, but still not walking by faith. And it really wasn't until I started growing my faith more in my older years. I was like around 2007 when I said, in my first testimonial video was the testimony 2, testimony 3, when it started talking about that. That was when I really started growing my faith more. And this is now 2025. So that's when I really started to grow my faith more. Walking by faith more than walking by sight. All right. I want to wish you Godspeed, blessing from God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. If not, please like, share, comment, or subscribe. Outside of that, wish you Godspeed, blessings.